To be a good tennis player, you have to have the dedication to do the work.
Obviously, practice is important. Just lift yourself up. Think that, oh, I got this.
Should have a positive attitude and focus on the ball.
You have to have a really good support system, like a solid group of people who can support you.
My name is Ahmad Bright, and I'm the Vice President of A Bright Future. At ABF, we provide wraparound services through mentorship, financial support, as well as education and fraternity. It really grew out of conversations that my mother and I were having. Oh yeah, she's the president. Yeah, she's the boss of ABF for sure. Yeah, she's the boss. Through conversations that we had, reflecting on my experience, my life, we were wondering what gaps could be filled because we knew what was out there, right, through my own lived experience. I first started playing tennis when I was about 3 or 4 years old. My older brother Chad had started playing when he was young, so I remember tagging along with him, going to public courts, swinging the racket or attempting to swing the racket in any way that I could.
Ahmad is my younger brother of 9 years. I started teaching tennis in summers when I was like 14. And naturally when that happens, you know, your younger brother wants to do everything that you're doing. So he was on the tennis court with me while I was at work and, you know, playing and stuff like that. And he took to it. Right away, he was talented, you could see it.
I first started playing at Sportsman's Tennis Club around 7 or 8 years old. Once I started getting good in tennis, I was kind of uprooted from Sportsman's so that I could then play in a more competitive environment.
We went out to the club in the suburbs and was able to play with some different kids and a different set of competition. He shot up in the ranks. He became like number 2 in New England, won at one point 12s and then even in the 14s. So it was positive in that regard. I think it took his tennis to another level. But it also left some gaps.
What I gained in skill, I lost in community. And that was really the start of me kind of having this identity crisis.
So I knew Ahmad when he was very young. I watched him play when he was very young. I saw the talent. I had no idea about the other issues that were going on in his life at that time.
I had always struggled with belonging and fitting in. Being from the inner city, being from a working class family, and then attending private schools, and there's that disconnect right there. I was never made to feel like I didn't belong, and I was always embraced. I mean, I had friends and all of that, but it's just in my own head, I was creating this narrative of like, okay, well, my reality at school is completely different than my reality at home. And I didn't really have that island or that safe space that I had at Sportsman's growing up. I found a ready-made community in the streets, in the street culture, and that was costly. It was terrible. Yeah.
It was devastating, you know, especially I think because he's like the baby of the family. You know, you feel like you wanna, especially as the older brother, we're 9 years apart, feel like you wanna, you know, take that pain away from him.
I visited him regularly. I was blown away about his level of maturity and how well he was functioning in a very difficult setting.
I had made a decision with myself to ensure that I didn't emerge from incarceration at a disadvantage. I was motivated to kind of make sure that gap was as narrow as possible, and I knew that the only way to do that was through self-improvement.
A Bright Future came about, really it was a thought in Ahmad's head when he was incarcerated. We would always talk about, you know, what's going on out here and the possibilities of what we could be doing as a family. This tennis idea and deeper, the idea of tennis being a vehicle to help inner city youth with many different components of their lives obviously spoke to us.
We decided that we didn't want to wait for me to come home to start the work, especially when my brother Chad, who had been a tennis coach for upwards of 20 years, was already very much on the ground in the tennis world.
I saw the potential of this program being amazing. What I didn't realize at the time is how good Chad was going to be at running this program.
My title is program director, but in any startup organization, it's like all hands on deck. So, you know, I'm picking kids up from school at times, dropping them off to tennis, you know, taking kids to tournaments, dropping by the house if their parents say they need a talking to about something. Just like tennis being an individual sport, these kids have their own individual lives, live in different places, different walks of life. Some have two parents, some don't. Some are going to schools in the city, some aren't.
The work that we're doing, we know, is meeting them where they're at and helping them to kind of evolve beyond where they're at. We actually developed a curriculum. We provide cultural and identity training.
These off-the-court things will help them on the court, being culturally sound and being proud of who you are. When you go on that court, step on that court, even though you may feel isolated, you may feel like people don't look like you, but I mean, this is where you belong, this is what you train for, and you have a support system and your brothers at ABF.
Fraternity, as we know, is all about community and building bonds that outlive anyone's particular tennis career.
There's this ecosystem that we've always talked about where kids come back and mentor. It's just kids are always have kids to look up to and all a part of this ABF family.
I wasn't really like thinking tennis was going to have that much value in my life as it does now. I didn't think I was going to bring that much value to tennis as I'm doing it now, you know. It's just it's an all-around privilege.
It gives me sort of a brotherhood to like know that there are other people who are working the same way that I am. And it's sort of like another family that I, you know, can look at and be like, those guys are, you know, with me.
I mean, ABF is an extension of our upbringing. You know, that's the beautiful thing about the work, is that we're filling voids that we had when we were growing up. I want to make sure that we just have as big an impact as we can. Bringing black tennis in general, black and brown tennis in America just closer together. We're going to need, you know, all hands on deck too, because this is a tall task, what we're trying to do.